On Saturday the 10th of September, I submitted what ended up being an opinion piece to Al Jazeera as contribution to their article collating the views of British Muslims on the Queen. Unfortunately, my piece could not be included in the article in its entirety due to workout constraints, which is why I am now going to endeavour to read the article in its entirety in this video. Link to the Al Jazeera article in the description. I would wish Queen Elizabeth a peaceful rest and offer condolences to those affected. I myself can't say that I was emotionally affected by the announcement, but it was most certainly a surprise. Throughout my life, I've constantly had her face present in some way, shape, or form. It seems to me that having something so consistent in your life go is a humbling reminder from the God of Abraham that all worldly things are ephemeral, and that to our Creator we shall return. Reflecting on the Queen's life, I am first reminded of the story my mother would often tell me of my birth. A caesarean operation in the newly built Jubilee wing of King's College Hospital, London, went well and smoothly, praise be to God. However, a few days after the event, when my father turned away in a huff, nothing could have prepared my somewhat confused mother for seeing Queen Elizabeth II, on tour for her Golden Jubilee, looking straight into the ward at her. Contemplating on this story, 2 days after the Queen's passing, I find an unusual lesson creeping to the surface. That no matter who you are or what you do, you will eventually find the British monarchy entering your conscience, whether they are welcomed across the drawbridge with open arms, or left with no other choice than to force their way through the defensive walls of your pro-democracy egalitarian castle. My family have never thought highly of royalty. Inspired by Islamic teachings of equality and accountability of leaders, we have more or less been in agreement with the political left when they express criticism or even disdain for an aristocratic institution that our country seems relentless in dragging along into our shared future. I am of the opinion that leaders should be chosen from amongst the people that he or she leads, and that he or she should maintain close contact with said people, presenting a humble and approachable character to which concerns can be raised. In my mind, a leader should strive to reassure their brothers and sisters that they are not a tyrannical attempt to press legislation upon the people, but rather a unifying bond arising from the people to guide and protect. I don't think I need to say explicitly that an aristocratic monarchy achieves none of these things. But I am faced with the uncomfortable reality that our supposedly democratic parliamentary system hasn't done a good job at achieving those priorities either. With the largest demographic at our elections consistently being did not vote, an increasingly elite class of people controlling political affairs both behind the podium and behind closed doors, and a population all too eager to embrace highly emotive causes like Brexit, it seems that a shared level of frustration and discontent at our political landscape is not going away anytime soon, regardless of what happens to the British monarchy. That seems to have been a regular motif in my political education, regardless of what happens to the British monarchy. For all the passion directed at the royal family, both positive and negative, we are forced at some point to admit that the scope of influence the royal family holds is really quite small. Gone are the days when the British monarchs could call a genocide and other such horrors, be it across the Irish Sea or the Eurasian continent. Today the guilt falls on our elected leaders, and the monarchs have become little more than a much-beloved figurehead. Directing our anger for the horrors inflicted on our brothers and sisters in Palestine and Iraq towards such people seems somewhat futile. But when faced with the question of what the British monarchy is a figure for, we are forced to admit for an egregiously unaccountable form of governance, and a terrible ideology of colonialism and slavery that engulf the world, including much of the Muslim world. Not a figure that is easy for a Muslim to embrace, who has been taught the importance of standing up to oppression. But now is not the time to express vile hatred, nor when so many mourn. Now is the time to offer condolences, as the unyieldingly pro-democracy MP Jeremy Corbyn did in his unexpected personal message yesterday. Now is the time to strive for a righteous character and look for what unites us, rather than divides us. I found my attitudes towards the royal family, and indeed towards the Western world as a whole, brought into question when I sat in Cambridge Central Mosque listening to Sheikh Abdullah Hakim Murad's khutbah on interfaith dialogue. I recommend Muslims and non-Muslims living under the scope of the United Kingdom give it a watch. I will not be able to do the khutbah justice, but what I can say is that the central message was as followed. It is not our position to judge the character of anyone, be they in glorious palaces or down in the cold street. Our job is but to spread the religion of Abraham and Muhammad, peace unto them, and to call for justice. The new-coming King Charles III has shown us impressive interest in Islam and an openness to learn. It is therefore upon us to let down the drawbridge and embrace him with open arms. It seems to me that a Muslim is to celebrate the praises of those around them. That is what opens up people's hearts. A figurehead may not legislate, but he certainly yields influence over our cultural landscape. And if the new King Charles can use his position to acknowledge the mistakes of the past and point to a unified future, perhaps Muslims in the UK can get a somewhat easier life.